There's a question almost everyone thinks they already know the answer to, yet the real explanation hides in places most people never look. Why do so many Americans stay broke, even when they work, even when they try, even when they follow the advice they were given since childhood? It feels like a simple problem on the surface, but once you look deeper, a strange pattern appears. The same families struggle across generations. The same paycheck disappears before the month ends, and the same financial promises collapse again and again. Something is happening underneath the surface. Something older than modern jobs and louder than any motivational quote. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The mystery becomes even larger when you notice how predictable the struggle is. A person earns more, yet feels poorer. Overtime increases, yet savings do not. Side income grows, yet debt grows even faster. It is as if the system silently pushes people back to the same starting point, no matter how far they run. The truth is not about a single mistake or a single habit. It is a chain of decisions, events, and structures that were built over a long period of time, shaping the way money enters, moves, and leaves a household before most people even have a chance to understand what is happening around them. To understand why so many Americans stay broke, you have to step back in time, to the years when the modern financial lifestyle was being created. Decades ago, before credit cards became common and before digital banking became normal, there was a world where most families saved before they spent. The idea of spending money that did not yet exist felt unusual. Cash controlled the pace of life, and life adjusted around that limitation. But then a new kind of convenience arrived, and this convenience slowly reshaped expectations. It began with the introduction of personal credit. At first, it felt harmless. A small amount here, a small purchase there, a simple way to make life easier. A new refrigerator, a new car, a vacation that someone could finally afford. No one saw the long-term consequences because the changes were quiet. People believed they were gaining freedom while silently losing control. The system around them started to shift. Stores began to shape pricing around those new credit options. Companies designed products expecting buyers to borrow. Banks expanded services that encouraged debt. And soon, a lifestyle built on borrowed money became normal. The rise of easy credit created a new kind of financial pressure. Spending increased because spending felt affordable. Prices increased because people were willing to pay more over time. Wages could not keep up with the new cost of living, and families found themselves needing the same credit system that had created the expensive lifestyle in the first place. The chain reaction had begun, and once it started, it did not slow down. As this system grew, a second element appeared: the illusion of stability. People believed that if they kept working, things would naturally improve. But the truth was different. Every time income increased, the cost of essential living increased as well. Housing, transportation, food, education, and healthcare slowly outpaced the average income. A person working full-time decades ago could support a family with one paycheck. Today, two people working full-time often still struggle to manage the basics. This was not caused by one event. It was the result of long stretches of financial adjustments that happened quietly in the background. Every few years, another pressure point formed. Housing shortages pushed prices up. Tuition fees rose faster than wages. Medical costs increased without clear limits. Families tried to adapt, but each adaptation created a new problem. Borrowing for education led to long-term financial stress. Taking a loan for a house consumed decades of future income. Using credit for emergencies created long-term obligations that drained savings before they could grow. The system rewired the way people lived, month after month, year after year. And through all of this, a strange truth stayed hidden. Most people thought they were facing personal financial failures, when in reality, they were reacting to structures that were never designed to create long-term stability. They were following rules that no longer worked, trying to apply old solutions to new problems. The world around them changed faster than their understanding of money. People felt like they were falling behind because they lacked discipline, when the real issue was that the financial environment around them had become more demanding with every decade. This brings us to the breaking point, the moment when many Americans realized something was wrong but could not describe it. They noticed that even careful spending did not lead to progress. They noticed that even a responsible job could not guarantee stability. They noticed that saving felt impossible, planning felt unrealistic, and every unexpected expense felt like a threat. The pressure built slowly, the same way a quiet storm gathers strength far from land, invisible until the waves finally reach the shore. This is where the real story begins. The struggle is not random. The struggle has a history. And once you understand where that history started, you begin to see why so many Americans stay broke, even when they are doing everything they believe is right. The breaking point did not arrive with a single event. It arrived through a slow buildup of financial habits, economic shifts, and structural pressures that blended into everyday life so smoothly that people barely noticed the transformation. What made the situation even more confusing was how normal everything appeared on the surface. People went to work, paid their bills, and tried to save, yet the feeling of being stuck continued to tighten around them. It became clear that the system was not designed to reward effort alone. Something deeper controlled the flow of money, and the roots of that control stretched far back into decisions made long before today's workers were even born. As the cost of living climbed through the decades, wages did not follow the same path. This created a quiet imbalance that slowly reshaped household budgets. Essentials consumed more space, leaving less room for savings. A family that once needed a fraction of their income for housing now needed nearly half. Healthcare that was once manageable became unpredictable. Education, which once offered a direct path upward, became a financial weight that followed people into adulthood. These changes pushed families into a cycle where planning became difficult and unexpected expenses felt like financial emergencies. This widening gap created the conditions for a new kind of financial trap: the dependence on short-term solutions to long-term problems. People turned to credit cards for emergencies, small loans for shortfalls, and financing options for basic needs. Each solution seemed temporary, yet each one created a longer and heavier obligation. A missed bill led to fees, and fees turned into more stress. A delayed payment lowered credit scores, making future borrowing more expensive. The system quietly punished small mistakes while offering easy options that disguised long-term consequences. During this period, another influence silently grew: consumer culture. Marketing was no longer just about products, it was about lifestyles. Companies learned how to make people feel that their worth was tied to what they owned. It became normal to replace things that still worked and to upgrade items that were perfectly functional. The pressure to keep up with trends created a steady stream of spending that drained money faster than people realized. What made it even more dangerous was how natural it all felt. People believed they were choosing freely, unaware that countless decisions were shaped by designs made to influence them. All these forces combined to create a financial environment where money entered quickly and left even faster. People were not failing, they were being overwhelmed. Even responsible individuals found themselves living close to the edge, one step away from falling into long-term debt. And as the years passed, the system didn't adjust to make life easier. It adjusted to make borrowing smoother, faster, and more convenient. Digital payments removed the emotional weight of spending. Automatic withdrawals moved money without conscious thought. Buy now, pay later options expanded purchasing power without showing the full cost up front. By the time people noticed these patterns, they were already living inside them. But this story does not end with individual spending. There's a deeper layer, shaped by decisions made on national and economic levels. The financial system depends on a constant flow of spending to function. When people spend less, the economy slows. When the economy slows, pressure builds. To keep the system running, borrowing becomes the tool used to maintain stability. This creates a cycle where both individuals and institutions rely on debt to keep moving forward. And when debt becomes normal at every level, personal, corporate, and national, it creates an environment where stability depends on the continuation of something that was originally meant to be temporary. This dependence creates a strange paradox. On one hand, people are told to save, plan, and prepare. On the other hand, the world around them is built to make saving difficult, planning unpredictable, and preparation nearly impossible. It is not a personal flaw, it is a conflict between advice and environment. People are taught financial rules that were designed for a world that no longer exists. They are told to follow strategies built for an economy that has changed dramatically, while the system quietly reshapes itself in ways that outpace everyday understanding. This brings the story to a powerful realization. The reason so many Americans stay broke is not because they lack effort, intelligence, or discipline. It is because they are reacting to conditions created by decades of rising costs, shifting expectations, and financial systems that reward borrowing more than saving. The struggle is not about one moment of weakness or one poor decision. It is the outcome of a landscape where every pathway forward comes with hidden weight. Yet even in this environment, patterns appear that show exactly where the system begins to crack. There are people who break the cycle, not through luck, but through steps that go against the expected pattern. These individuals expose the weaknesses in the system, the points where control slips, and the strategies that reveal the truth behind why so many remain stuck. Their stories point toward something important. The root cause is visible once you learn where to look, and once you understand how the cycle formed, you can begin to see the way out of it. The final part of this story begins with an uncomfortable truth that often goes unspoken. Once a financial pattern becomes normal for long enough, people accept it as unchangeable. This acceptance is one of the most powerful reasons so many remain trapped in the same cycle year after year. Yet the moment you look closely, the pattern reveals cracks. Those cracks show that the system is not unbreakable. It is simply familiar. To understand where the turning point begins, it helps to look at how people respond when pressure grows. Some reduce spending, hoping discipline alone will solve what is actually a structural problem. Others work more hours, believing effort will outrun rising costs. A few try to follow traditional financial advice, only to find that the old rules do not hold against modern realities. But every now and then, someone pauses long enough to question the entire structure instead of just reacting to it. That moment of questioning is where the shift begins. When individuals study how money flows around them, they start noticing patterns hidden beneath daily life. They realize that their financial pressure is not random. It follows a predictable sequence. Expenses rise faster than income. Credit becomes a replacement for savings. Small financial shocks cause lasting setbacks. Simultaneously, companies and institutions benefit from a system where widespread financial strain keeps consumption high and long-term saving low. Recognizing the sequence allows people to separate personal responsibility from the larger forces guiding their decisions. This shift in perspective is powerful because it replaces frustration with clarity. People begin to see that their struggle is not a reflection of personal weakness. It is the outcome of living inside a system that rewards short-term decisions. And once they understand the structure, they can finally position themselves outside of it. The real turning point arrives when people adopt habits that disrupt the cycle. These habits do not rely on dramatic lifestyle changes. They rely on consistency, small advantages, and learning to direct money instead of reacting to it. Even modest progress compounds over time. Saving a small amount regularly begins to build stability. Reducing unnecessary commitments creates breathing room. Developing a simple plan forces financial decisions to follow a clear direction instead of impulse. These steps may seem small, but they work because they counter everything the system expects people to do. At this point in the story, an important pattern becomes visible. People who escape the cycle do so because they stop relying on willpower alone. They build a structure around their decisions. They automate small habits, create boundaries around spending, and treat financial choices as long-term behavior instead of emotional reactions. This is the opposite of the environment around them, which encourages convenience, speed, and constant consumption. But even with personal strategy, another challenge appears. The world does not slow down. Costs continue to rise. Financial products continue evolving. Technology continues to create new ways to spend. This can make progress feel fragile, as if one setback could undo months of effort. Yet the people who stay on track share one final trait. They never rely on the system to become easier. They rely on themselves to become smarter. This brings the story to its final realization. The reason many Americans stay broke is not simply that life is expensive or the system is flawed. The deeper reason is that the financial environment changes faster than people are taught to understand it. When knowledge stays the same but the world shifts, people fall behind. When people learn how the system truly works, they step ahead. Every repeating pattern becomes clearer. Rising costs, marketing pressure, increasing dependence on credit, the shift from saving to financing, the normalization of money stress. These patterns are not secrets. They are simply rarely examined. Understanding them exposes the truth. The cycle is not unbreakable. It is only unfamiliar. From this point, 3 lessons emerge with clarity. The first lesson is that small financial habits hold more power than most people realize. The system is built around the assumption that individuals will continue spending without long-term planning. The moment someone commits to consistent, structured financial behavior, they step out of that expectation. Even small amounts accumulate strength when they are protected and directed with intention. The second lesson is that awareness is more valuable than effort. People are trained to work harder, but rarely trained to understand how money truly moves around them. Awareness breaks confusion. It reveals the hidden influences behind daily decisions. It exposes the difference between needs and distractions. Once you understand these forces, you navigate with clarity instead of pressure. The third lesson is that every long-term outcome begins with a quiet shift in thinking. Nothing changes at first. Life looks the same. But the moment someone questions the normal pattern, their direction changes. Over time, that direction separates them from the cycle that traps others. Their future improves long before the improvement becomes visible. As the story reaches its final line, one thought remains. The system does not announce when it shifts. It changes quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. People stay broke for the same reason. The trap forms gradually, silently, through a series of small habits and hidden pressures. But escape also begins quietly, with a decision so small that no one notices at first. A choice to save a little. A choice to learn a little. A choice to think differently. Those silent shifts shape a future no one expects. If this opened even one new thought for you, share it with someone who might need it. And if you want to understand more untold truths behind modern money, consider joining the channel so you never miss the stories that reveal how financial systems really work.